Hey everyone, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a little piece of internet magic that you use, well, pretty much every single day, probably without even realizing it. We're talking about Amazon CloudFront. So, how does this thing actually work? Let's dive in and find out.
You know that feeling? You're on vacation, maybe halfway across the world, and your favorite website still just pops up in a flash. How is that even possible? It feels like magic, right? Well, it's not. It's actually a really brilliant piece of infrastructure, and we're about to break down exactly how it works.
Okay, so before we can really get the solution, we got to talk about the problem it's built to solve. And I like to call it the global waiting game. See, when you're online, the laws of physics are still very much a thing. And distance, well, distance is the absolute enemy of speed.
So the basic problem is super simple. If you go to a website and the server is like right in your city, that data has a really short trip. It's fast, no problem. But what if you're in Tokyo and you're trying to hit a website that's hosted all the way over in New York? That request has to travel thousands and thousands of miles, a lot of it through these giant undersea cables. And every single one of those miles adds a tiny little delay. We call that latency. And all those tiny delays, they add up to a seriously slow, super frustrating experience for you.
So, how do you beat physics, right? How do you solve this whole distance problem? Well, here's the thing. You don't fight it. You just work around it with a much smarter delivery system. And the core idea? It's actually incredibly simple when you think about it.
All right, let's use an analogy here because it makes it so much easier. Imagine there's just one single amazing pizza shop, and its job is to serve the entire planet. Now, if you live right next door, awesome. You get hot, fresh pizza in just a few minutes. But what if you live across the ocean? Yeah, by the time that pizza finally gets to you, it's going to be cold, it's going to be sad, and it's going to be super late. That right there is our single server problem in a nutshell.
And the solution is pretty obvious, isn't it? You wouldn't try to deliver everything from one single headquarters. No way. You'd open up local kitchens in every single neighborhood. And that way, boom, everyone gets fresh, hot pizza delivered from just around the corner, pretty much instantly.
And that whole network of local pizza kitchens, that is the perfect way to think about a content delivery network, or what we call a CDN. It's basically a global network of servers that caches or stores copies of website content. You know, the images, the videos, the code. And it puts them in places that are physically closer to you, the user. This simple idea just massively slashes that latency we were talking about. And yeah, Amazon CloudFront, it's one of the biggest, most powerful CDNs on the entire planet.
Okay, so that's the big picture. We get the local kitchen's idea. Now let's pop the hood and see how this machine actually runs. How does CloudFront really work, from the second you click a link to the moment that website just appears on your screen?
All right, so check this out. Here's the journey of your request. First, you ask for a website. Your request immediately gets routed to the nearest CloudFront Edge location. That's our local pizza kitchen. Now, two things can happen. If that kitchen already has the content you want, bam, that's a cache hit and it's delivered to you instantly. Super fast. But what if it's not there? Well, that's called a cache miss. No big deal. The local kitchen just calls back to the main origin server, the main pizza shop, to grab the file. The origin sends it to the local kitchen and, here's the really clever part, the local kitchen saves a copy of it. It caches it for the next person who asks. Then, it sends the file to you. So yeah, the very first person might have a tiny wait, but every single person after them in that area gets it instantly.
So that's the theory, right? Sounds great. But how does a developer actually, do this? The official documentation can be a little dense. So let's just boil it all down into 3 simple, easy to understand steps for taking your stuff from one local server and putting it on a global stage.
Step 1. You gotta store your files. This means you take all the original versions of your website's content, all the images, the code, the whole shebang, and you put it in one central, super reliable spot, like an Amazon S3 bucket. That's your main kitchen. Step 2, you build the network. You create what's called a CloudFront distribution, and you can think of this as just giving CloudFront the address to your main kitchen and saying, hey, go build me a worldwide network of local kitchens based on this. And finally, step 3, and this one's super important, you secure the doors. And you do this with a feature called Origin Access Control, or OAC for short.
Right, so OAC. This is a really crucial security layer. I mean, the official docs say it plain and simple. Its job is to, quote, prevent viewers from accessing your S3 bucket directly. Think of it like a bouncer at the front door of your main pizza kitchen. It makes sure that every single person has to come through the proper, secure front entrance, which is CloudFront, instead of just letting anyone sneak around to the back door and mess with your main supply warehouse.
And look, while speed is obviously the big headline feature here, the benefits of using a network like CloudFront go way, way beyond just faster load times. It really fundamentally changes how you protect and manage your entire website.
So let's just quickly run through the key benefits again. First, of course, you get that ridiculously fast delivery to users all over the world. But you also get HTTPS security just baked right in, which is absolutely critical for trust. You get to use your own custom domain name so your branding stays front and center. Your original files, they're setting safe and sound and super reliable storage like Amazon S3. And, maybe most importantly, you get this amazing layer of security that protects your main server from getting hammered with direct traffic or even attacks. It's really the whole package, speed and security.
And here's a cool little detail to make this all a bit more real. By default, when one of those CloudFront Edge locations grabs a file from your main server, it hangs onto that copy for 24 hours. After that, it'll check back to see if there's a new version. This setting is called the TTL, or time to live, and the best part is, it's totally customizable. So you have complete control over how often your content gets refreshed for your users all around the world.
So the next time a website from halfway across the planet loads up instantly on your phone, you'll know it isn't magic, it's this incredible invisible network of digital pizza kitchens, all working perfectly in the background. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought, right? What other invisible, amazing pieces of infrastructure are out there, hiding in plain sight, just making our entire digital lives possible?